All right. Here we go. What's up, man? It's your boy MoonDog 3732 from the MoonDog 3732 show on YouTube. Hey, man, watch the show, like, subscribe, share, comment. Also, hit us up at the podcast with my homie Tiffany DJ. Also, the .com with the merchandise, blogs, stuff like that. So we're gonna switch it up a little bit. Sometimes we talk about relationships, we talk about this, we talk about that. But today, on this particular topic, we're gonna talk about what do Black people care about. I'm not sure. You know what I'm saying? Even though I have been told that I'm a Black person, I'm not really sure what Black people as a whole care about. We are not a monolith. We do not all think the same. We do not all move the same. I think it depends on a lot about what you was taught, how you grew up, what kind of values were instilled into you, what part of the U.S. that you're in, what part of the world you're in, and your experiences. Um, because we don't actually like move as one, so to speak.
Right. Your environment has a say about what's important to you too. Um, but to answer that, for me, um, God, my faith is very important. My children, my self care, um, generational wealth, insurance, uh, and a good time.
Aha! You gotta spread it in there, right? I think I'll make everything taste sweet.
Right.
So when we talking about what do we care about, not a lot of times I say that we don't move as one. We don't care if the politicians do their job. We don't care if they're this. We don't care if they're that. We are separated in a lot of aspects. I'm gonna give you an example. I'm not talking about these organizations, but I'm gonna give you an example. We have different Greek organizations, right? Even though we Black, we Greek organizations, right? I wonder what would actually happen, which means that we have the Divine Nine and we have different organizations. Think about the kind of power we would have if we just had one organization and everything went toward one vision instead of being splintered into nine or more different visions. So why not just have like one major instead of Greek, Afro Greek, however you want to call it, organization? Okay.
I have no insight of that at all.
See. Also, we don't agree. Is we the thing about politics when they get to a point where they like don't talk about politics at work or don't talk about religion at work. Why we can't have a conversation? We know that we don't agree on everything. We
Right.
know that we're gonna have some people to say stuff that piss you off. But if you know what you're talking about, I don't think you could actually get pissed off.
But
Uh, e- Everybody's not gonna raise their kids the same way. Some people know their kids out here killers and talk about some they child didn't do it. Your child did it. Your child did it. We know that we're out here sometimes spoiling our kids, and we know that nothing comes good or something that's spoiled. Try to either spoil food or try to spoil milk. Nothing comes good of it. But we have people that will spoil their kids. We don't move. I'm not sure how we can even get to the point where we can pick 10 things to agree with and move in that certain situation. Because we know that other cultures, regardless of what goes on, but when it's time, they gonna move as one.
facts. And
Us, go ahead, cuz.
we react as one instead of proact as one. And I can say that by experience with the Black culture. It's more so if we put that energy that we are reacting to being proactive, we can be a force as well. Not saying that we're not a force, but we can be a stronger force if we proactive with that same energy.
Yeah, that makes sense because I was looking at the the Black Lives Matter. Even though that I tell people all the time, the Black Lives Matter movement is different from the Black Lives Matter organization.
Mm-hmm.
How so? The Black Lives Matter organization took those donation dollars and did what? Bought a bunch of houses with them. Okay. Now, when we're out there protesting from a cop getting shot, which we're not, well, not a cop getting shot, but a cop shooting somebody, we're not protesting because that person got shot. We're protesting because we want that cop to have the same justice that we get into
Right.
or that affects us. But at the same time, what happens when we have certain gang members in our neighborhood and they shoot people? Do we protest them?
We should. Not even
Should.
this. Like, it should be justice across the board. Like, regardless of if it's the white police or the gang member in your community, it should be justice across the board.
But we can't agree on anything. What do you think it'll take for us as black people to agree on 10 things? What do you think it would take for us to agree?
And
Mm.
it, a clear and precise end goal, like, and understanding the strategies, a clear strategy to the end goal. I think if that was presented in the beginning, I'm pretty sure, because it's easy for us to follow um, the blueprint if the blueprint is written. But then again, it's more so let's jump head first and try and error, and we'll have more errors that we can't learn from it, and we're continually reincarnating the wheel instead of just rolling with the same wheel over and over. So I think a clear, precise end goal is what it would have to take with anything in the black community.
I think it's going to take a lot of pain and suffering. This is what I'm saying. Pain is a great motivator and a great teacher. I think that a lot of times, a lot of people in our culture, they have it so good or have has risen past where they used to come from. They're
Mhm.
not going back. If it means selling somebody out, they're not going back to being broke.
Right.
They're not
Right.
going back to being poor. You need me to do what? I got to point them out and watch I do it. They're not going back. They're not because they are used to a certain status. They're used to a certain level. They're used to eating certain things. They're not going back to eating neck bones. You know what I'm saying? They're not
Right.
eating neck bones and butter beans anymore. Now they're eating filet mignon and steak. They're not going back. They drinking champagne now. They're not going back to drinking that Seagram gin. You know what I'm saying? They're not,
At
they're
what
not
cost though? At what cost? And then that's another thing. It's easy for us to feel like my circle has to eat this particular way and not my community. Like, it's crabs in a crab bucket. Like, if I'm on top, I'm gonna stay on top. Like, by any means. If I have to keep you underneath me, that's what it's gonna be. But it shouldn't be that way. We should have a system in place. The end goal is to get out of this crab bucket. So this is the strategy we should use. You pull one, I pull one. We all pull one, and we all out.
each
But
each one teach one.
right, and nobody's left behind if it's the end goal in mind, and we actually see what needs to happen and how we can get there. Is it shouldn't be, if you're left behind, it you choose to stay. You choose to stay in that barrel.
Now, J.R. Smith made a good point. He was talking about how much money as a player he used to blow in like a strip club or something like that. And he was like, think about the after school programs or the feeding programs I could have did in my neighborhood with that
Right.
same money that I just threw in the club.
Facts. I agree. Totally agree.
So like Cuz said, we don't have those systems in place
No.
where we're like, hey man, we know where we came from. What are we gonna do to make sure that we elevate our situation back to what we think it should? A lot of people are like, oh man, if we start doing too good, they go bomb us like Black Wall Street. Yeah, probably. But at the
Right.
same time, does that mean that I'm gonna sit around and be scared and not do anything?
Right. But if you take it like this, look at each professional sport and the African American that plays in those sports, that has played in those sports. They come from a community nationwide. And if they gave back to their communities, if a blueprint was put in place on this is how you can grow your community, if you're an African American athlete, do you know how many communities will be well off than they are now for those athletes spending their money in the strip club? So if it was an agency that was actually there helping them with that blueprint, with that assignment to be put in place, bro, give back to your community. Here's the blueprint. The schools is important in your community. Give to the schools. The homeless shelters. Build your block back up. 9 times out of 10, 8 out of 10 of those players coming from poverty or neighborhoods or communities that's not doing well, that's not thriving. And if they have that blueprint that showed them how to give back to the community instead of splurging, or even just dropping that advice in their ear, it would be done. Like it's not given to them like that. And
Oh,
that's something that should be considered.
okay. Does it matter now? Because it's an organization that helped usher in all of these changes and all this knowledge. Does it matter? Do you think it matters if the organization is a black owned or a white owned organization? As long as the end goal gets done, does it matter?
Right.
I think it matters.
I do, because I think it should be, because you do have those people in other races that actually want to see the African American community thrive, because it's beneficial for all. And then there it is, because it's beneficial for all. That's the reason why they want to be a part. But on the same hand, I would want it to be an African American organization because it's by us and it's for us, and you can trust us. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, I would
So,
prefer.
in a lot of cases, when I encounter people and I tell them that I'm from Mississippi and stuff like that, they have a certain look about them, about, I'm from Mississippi, so I should act like this and be like this. Until I start using my vocabulary, you know what I'm saying? My vocabulary words, and they get something different, right? But a lot of times it's portrayed that our community only cares about supporting other people's brands, supporting these ugly orthopedic looking shoes. You know what I'm saying? Balenciaga. I'm gonna call y'all out. Y'all shoes like a bunch of Skechers that y'all redid, which y'all sort of kind of stole their style. I need to hit on there. We care about twerking everywhere, every time we hear a song. We care about fashion, and we care about having a good time. It's portrayed that we don't care about the future. We don't care about, we just living for the day. We don't care about making sure that we're okay or our next generation is okay. We care about eating good, drinking good, and whatever happened between that, that's what happened. That's what it's portrayed that we care about. But I know we care more about that because I see it every day.
Right. Facts. We do.
So do we need to start? Hold on. Do we need to start changing the perception, or should we even care about how other cultures perceive us?
I just say get it done. The perception of it isn't important as long as you're producing great greatness. So producing greatness, I don't think that anybody else's perception. should matter.
Do we even need to, like, because of the situation we're in, and you look at the numbers, we're only about 13%, 13% of the actual population. We could band together and make things happen, but we know that everybody's not going to band together. We may have allies out there, but at the same time, we may not have any allies out there, right? So when we're talking about what do we care about, I think we care about us. Sometimes we do get in our own way of caring about us and what's important. Sometimes we do use those other things that I've mentioned as a form of expression, as a form of showing like, hey man, I've made it to a certain point. At the same time, if you're telling me you spend $1,400 on a pair of shoes, that's not going to impress me. What's going to impress me is that if you spent $100 at 14 of your friends' businesses or your family member businesses, that's more impressive to me than you spending $1,400 on a person, Gucci or whatever, with Louis Vuitton, with those names or actual names. But you spent $100 14 times at different businesses that your friends or relatives own, that's more impressive to me.
Hey, likewise.
That's just how I feel. So I want to ask y'all out there, what do y'all think Black people care about? Not the stuff that you see on TV or social media, because you go on TikTok right now, you see people rubbing their stomach in the front and back. Do we know they're already dancing? You hear that a baby, you see people trying to slide. You gonna see people doing a little down situation and then pause and come back up. I'm just like, they probably practice that more than they do exercises. They need to hear no there. Do we even care about our health anymore? Or do we just worry about going to the doctor? Because I've seen people that go to the doctor every week, they put that into their weekly routine instead of exercising every week. What do y'all think Black people care about? Do we care about the law? Or do we only care about the law when somebody's other than us is breaking it and harming us? Or do we just care about, has your Netflix password changed and you haven't given me the new one?
Yeah, bro.
Let that Netflix password change and see how fast you get a text message.
Bro.
What do we care about? I'm asking y'all, what do y'all think Black people care about? Cuz, you want to add anything else to that?
Nah.
All right, man, I'm out.
Peace.